So
Cool. We should be live.
sweet. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Node.js website redesign. Cool. It's just the three of us today, it seems like, but let's just go around and do introductions anyway, because for anybody coming onto the stream, it's good to have. My name is Adam Miller, co-chair of the website redesign working group and developer over at LinkedIn.
Awesome. I'm Tierney Siren. I'm a developer advocate at NodeSource, and I'm chairperson of the Node.js community committee, and I help out with the website redesign initiative, I guess. I don't know if I'm actually a member or not. I think I am a member. Yeah.
I think you are. You're a member in our hearts.
There you go.
Yeah.
And
how about you, Francisco?
I'm Francisco, CEO of RunKit, and just trying to help out with the redesign in any way we can.
Awesome. And yeah, we were just before the stream went live, we were just chatting about the new design resource that, Francisco, you have a lot of context on. So let's just dive back into that conversation. Since it's not technically on the agenda, but it's of the utmost importance.
So maybe I should just fill in a little context just for the sake of the video. So Stripe is committing one of their designers full-time for 3 months. Again, just a little bit of context. We thought it was going to be one designer for a while. I wanted this other person. And the big issue was mainly just the remote aspect. However, having discussed with him for like the last, couple of weeks, he's kind of on board as long as he can start on July 10th. And he's very willing to kind of come over as long as it's a predictable schedule. So one of the things that I'd like to do is before July 10th, just be able to give him like a, if you can be here 4 days every other week or whatever it might be, this is largely going to be a decision for you all. Then he would feel very comfortable. The main reason he was kind of on the fence before was just that he thought that, like, given that this was a team he'd never worked with or whatever, he wouldn't be able to like do a great job, which is why he thinks it's like really important to be able to have like one-on-ones and stuff like that. So.
Yeah, totally. I like your idea of on the off weeks from this meeting, him coming out. Yeah, that way we have a touch point. We have a touch point midweek, every other week, and then like a heads down 4 days while he's on site.
Great.
Yeah, and you're sure he doesn't mind flying out that often? You said he wants to plant roots here and that stuff, right? So.
Yeah, so like we've worked with him a lot before. That's the main reason I wanted him on here, just because if, technically for the paperwork, I'll be his manager for this thing. Mm-hmm. And so I kind of just wanted, given that it's already this kind of weird setup, something where like some amount of familiarity. So yeah, he's come here before, even on like projects with us. He likes San Francisco. It's summer, so his kids are at camp and stuff. So if there's a time to do it, now's the time to do it.
Awesome. Well, let's make it happen. Have we given him context and stuff that's already happened? Like, so the main context would be just a couple of Medium articles that I had posted.
Yeah, I sent him a bunch of links. I also sent him kind of like the color stuff we had talked about and that sort of thing. I imagine he'll be kind of consuming all that a lot greater detail, like closer to July 10th. But yeah, if there's anything you'd like for me to give him specifically before he starts, just forward it to me and I'll forward it to him. I'll also just do like an email intro, so we're not like
we're not having a go-between.
Right. Yeah. The goal is for him to be able to work much more directly with you guys, so it should not feel like I'm like filtering the information or something. The other kind of question I had, which I just don't know anything about, is there, like, as Stripe sets up like the legal around this, is there anything on your guys' end that, basically, we want the work he does to belong to you guys? I don't know if there's some sort of something we need to sign or something. Again, I don't know, so that's why I don't even have words to describe it, but I imagine legal wants something such that you end up with the copyrights or whatever, right?
Tierney, that would be mostly on
that'd be on my end. So as far as I'm aware, no, but like that's just because I've never had to deal with that process. So let me dig in. the foundation is having some changes recently, so I'm gonna have to dig into that and see what I can find around that. But I will actually send out a message now to someone about that.
Awesome.
Cool.
To my naive knowledge of open source legal stuff, as long as you release it, all the work being done to the public under whatever license Node uses for its design-ish assets, it means we can use it.
Which is MIT.
Yeah. Hopefully, if we finally get the final word on that.
We got a half final word. We got the final word without it being like the written document.
Mm-hmm.
The decision, but not the document.
So it would essentially constitute you doing open source work for Node, which is all that needs to happen. So it's approval on your side for making sure that the work can be done under that license.
Cool.
But we'll get confirmation on that from our end to make sure there's no other hoops to jump through.
And Node has some like contributor license agreement or something, like some standard fare a la jQuery or something like that.
I think it's all just MIT contract.
Okay. All right. Great.
So yeah, pretty straightforward. Yeah, cool. So we should get something on the books for the 10th. It sounds like that's when he starts.
Yeah, that would be great.
Sweet. Let's get a video call set up for then, because I'm assuming he won't be out here.
He might be, if you guys want. It might be. I mean, I'll talk to him after. Why don't I just also, like, after this call, set up the intro email, and then we can kind of discuss like the minutia of like scheduling or whatever offline.
That sounds perfect. That sounds great. Yeah, I am, now that I'm finally back from this trip, I am here and on location from now until December. So
cool.
Let's make that happen. Cool. Moving on to the next item. Tierney, this would be awesome to get your eyes on. So the Manil posted this awesome synthesis of what we had worked on during the Collaborator Summit, issue number 60. The awesome list of all different topic ideas for getting started content. We, like we've talked about before, we want to break this out into separate issues for each one and set up a process for people to contribute back. I took a first stab yesterday at getting that process set out. Issue number 64, or PR number 64, sorry. And it basically outlines a hopefully pretty straightforward RFC process for contributing documentation documents. And a place to do so inside the repo while we wait for the final infrastructure and documentation ingestion system to be set up, so we can actually start iterating on content here, at least in Markdown format in the meantime.
Nice.
Yeah, I just wanted to raise visibility of that and hopefully get a little, I was hoping Manil would be here so that we could get leadership consensus at least, so we can pull it in and start making those issues. But yeah, would love feedback on that when you get a chance to read it through.
Yeah,
see if it's kind of what you were thinking.
Yeah, I'm gonna add a task to my to-do list to go through this.
Yeah, because as far as I know, there doesn't seem to be a lot of RFC style processes used in Node quite yet. And I'd love to bring.
Yeah.
It's a really awesome way to organize and triage incoming work. So I'd love to get it started for some different pipelines here.
So I think we had attempted one at one point, Node.js EPS, I think. Yes, I think we're also about to archive that repo because that's where all the major things like ES modules, HTTP2 async hooks, and API and stuff were originally discussed, but the flow we ended up having was actually very different from how they what was proposed. And that's just to say that was one instance where I think we did have that flow, but not to say that it wouldn't be useful elsewhere.
Yeah. Well, my thoughts for this are it's in place until we get the final solution working, and it's just a good way to to give people a place to go contribute content. This will be source of truth until we move stuff into the main node repo and get that get all those wires hooked up.
One thing that the other groups have been doing, so like I know Securities did this, I believe Build did this as well, is having the Node.js account tweet, having a canned tweet for the Node.js account, or canned share for the Node.js account to post, so that it'll go to LinkedIn, Twitter. Well, I mean, the one that they've been using has been Twitter, but I think we could actually do all of them if we wanted to. And so, that's something we could build out as a kind of call to action here is, hey, do you have something you'd like to build, or like would you like to contribute a guide about XYZ? Cool, here. And have that kind of process and way to begin consuming that. Yeah,
once this actually gets finalized and pulled in, this process, I'd love to get the visibility on it. That would be
awesome.
I'll ping you when it's actually in for that.
Okay. Cool.
Sweet. Awesome. That's actually just those two things: the designer start date and the RFC process. That's all that's on the agenda today. So, anybody else have stuff they want to talk about?
I had something, but I'm willing to wait to the end or whatever.
No, go for it. We got time. We're at the end.
Go for it.
Cool. I'm just saying if we wanted to do some sort of clockwise thing. I was hoping, I don't know if this is the right place to ask or whatever, but one of the things we were hoping for is if we could start doing kind of like a test run of a couple embeds in the API docs. Like there are already some of them that would, you could just swap in with an embed, and prior to an actual redesign, just have some of them be runnable, mainly because we want to do a couple of, so and you're pretty explicit about the couple of things we want to figure out before, like, we flip the switch or something. We'd like to develop some of the features that you guys had already known you wanted to request, like, hey, we don't want Node 10 to show up in the dropdown, that sort of thing. So we'd like to be able to like kind of get that rolled out. We also just want to get some sense of like kind of what the traffic's going to be for us, namely because we like had been throwing around maybe just having a dedicated server for the Node page, because it might be the case that has enough traffic where we want to do that kind of thing. So I don't know if the right people to talk to are here, or if we need to talk to someone in the made Node repo about that. Like, I just guess throwing that out there.
Yeah, for existing Node documentation, Tierney, you can correct me if I'm wrong here, that would be in the main Node repo is where all the current API docs are stored. And then it's ingested. I actually don't know how it's built and then deployed. I don't know where that machinery lives.
No,
Tierney.
That's goes through the current website, but also the docs. It's confusing. It's built from source in the Node repo. Yeah.
Got it.
That said, I was gonna say I'm happy to go and create that issue. Just I will try to approach it well from an initiative point of view. And like I would love to get. I'll send over the issue to you. For you to kind of jump in. But I think that's going to be the approach to get the most success in terms of actually getting that completion.
Cool. That sounds great. And then I guess the one of the other components of this that we wanted to kind of get started on now, but I know might be a little still up in the air, is that our thinking is kind of regardless, since we don't really know the way it's going to be implemented in the future, we were just going to kind of dive in with a we're going to assume it's going to continue being implemented the way it is. And like, for example, build out support for like making the run kit stuff just work with the markdown parser. It starts with an M. I always get the name confused. So that kind of, I think. Okay. So just building out that plugin or something. I don't know. I was just curious if there was already strong opinions of like, oh man, we're definitely not going to use that.
No. So the nice thing about the approach we've been taking is we've been doing it one stage at a time, which means we have zero technical opinions right now.
Cool.
So I think the only technical opinions we have are we want to use RunKit It's
Okay.
part of a significant part of the site. So let's.
Great technical opinion.
Yeah. So we any groundwork you lay right now that you deem the best path for getting RunKit in there will set the foundation for what we do later. The other technical opinion we have is we don't want to have to rewrite all the existing documentation,
right?
Which means it will still live in Markdown,
Yep.
and will still live alongside the main Node.js code. So if you work with the current API docs as is, and you get it hooked up with RunKit, I think that is a very safe path forward.
Okay, great
for us. Yeah. Sweet.
Awesome. Hold on just a second. Yeah, so I had another issue that I wanted to bring up around user feedback.
Mm-hmm.
I created an issue 61. I'll put it in the Zoom chat. There we go. Around possibly putting out a survey just around the docs to begin to allow us to iterate on or get feedback on what is and isn't helpful. This will be the second, assuming it happens, which I think is still TBD if the group wants to do it. This would be the second initiative or working group that's done this, and basically the guidelines are kind of radio buttons or multiple choice, or a scale from 1 to 10 type thing, like an NPS, or you want to limit text input as much as possible, just because it makes analyzing the data much harder. Yeah. Oh, there's an attendee.
Yeah, I think Minio.
No, it's a Gary.
Cool.
Yeah, so it makes it much harder to parse the actual data. So that was one of the requests when the I think it was the build working group originally did theirs, was can you have less text fields? So yeah, that's it would be nice to build out.
Oh, we lost you, Tierney. Yeah, it would be nice to build out questions for that, and opinions on what we want to gather. Francisco, what's his name? I would like to stop calling him the designer.
Oh, Joey Ellis.
Joey, okay, that's helpful. Hey, Gary, how's it going? Yeah, so would Joey? I'm assuming Joey would probably love to have input on if we ask the whole Node community, what do you like, what do you not like?
Yeah.
In documentation, he'd have opinions too. So we can certainly talk about that on the 10th. Tierney, I don't know if you can still hear us, but it would probably be good to get that input before we move forward on this. Yeah. Oh, hey, Manil. Let's see if I can promote you here. We just lost Tierney. So here we go. There he is. How's it going, Manil?
Hi, Adam.
Hi.
Good. Sorry for being late.
No worries. Yeah, we're actually just at the tail end of this discussion. Tierney's mic just cut out, unfortunately. But Tierney's mic just cut out, but we're talking about issue number 61, his proposal for doing another round of user feedback on Node.js docs. So I personally think it's an awesome idea. Let's ask the community what they want to see. That's the whole point of user-focused design and iterative feedback. So, but I was also just saying that we were talking earlier, Francisco, Joey is his name, right?
Yep.
The designer that RunKit is very kindly giving us for 3 months is starting on the 10th. So that's next Tuesday, or this upcoming Tuesday. Yeah, I know, right? And we'd love we'd love him to have feedback on whatever questions are asked for this as well. So we'll keep talking about that with our meeting on the 10th. Yeah. And then the only other, so we hashed out some details on design start date and some legal questions. And then the only other ticket brought up other than this one, I believe, was my pull request from yesterday, number 64. I proposed a process for contributing documentation to the repo, like just a little outline and a little template to follow for and where to put it in the repo while we're waiting on the documentation ingestion pipeline to actually get finalized. So we can actually start working on content here with a little bit of order. That's pull request number 64. So would love your eyes and feedback before we pull it in. That was just open yesterday, so.
Yeah, I hadn't seen that yet, but I wondered if we could rope in Addison on that, because her firm might have good insight on how they do their documentation with Drupal. And they were intending initially to help us write a guide for contributing to documentation. There's been some, we're trying to wait on both Francisca, who wanted to do a video on how to do a documentation PR, and them who wanted to write the technical doc side of it.
Yeah.
But I think like our schedules are a bit off, so we might just work directly with Addison, and Francisca can like bring that in later whenever.
Yeah. And I think the video that Francisco was talking about would be for like API documentation, which we know where that lives and how it works, and we're not going to change it as part of this process. But for guides and more detailed docs, we don't know really where it's going to live yet, or how we're going to be pulling it into the new website for getting started content. So I don't know if we need a block on the video for getting this process out there at least.
Perfect. Cool.
Yeah. Do you remember Addison's GitHub handle off the top of your head? Otherwise I can.
Yeah, it's ADD1SUN.
Yeah, perfect. Mm-hmm. Cool. Oh, she's not in the org. I can't request a review. I'll just ping her. And SUN. Would love your eyes on this too.
She's also active on Twitter with the same handle.
Sweet. Cool. There he is. Hey, Tierney. Welcome back. No, still can't hear you. Awesome. Yeah. So yeah, once this gets pulled in, I think we can then split out all that giant list of items into separate issues and just point people to this process. It basically just gives a place in the repo for proposed guide pages to live and a template for drafting them. So it's
template.
It's modeled.
Yeah,
it's modeled after a number of RFC processes that other open source projects use to kind of funnel community contributions and give a nice pipeline for review and acceptance of them. So pretty tested model from other projects, and hopefully it'll just make things a bit more orderly as we get these contributions in here. Yeah.
Sweet.
Cool. So Aguirre and Manil, I know you just called in, but that is technically the agenda list. So unless anybody has anything else they'd like to add or chat about, any other questions?
I dropped a question in the chat, so I don't know if you can look at it.
Oh yeah. What's our take on new documentation towards removing and adding new docs? So I think the goal right now is, hold on, Manil, your issue was issue number 60, right? So we did an exercise at the Collaborator Summit to kind of brainstorm new types of documentation and new types of content. So that's issue number 60 under website redesign. We have really, really bad getting started docs on the Node.js website. The APIs are okay, get a lot better. They're pretty comprehensive, but for actually getting started and how to actually use Node in a way and in projects and for use cases you might actually care about, there's not a lot of content on there. So on the new site, we're hoping to have like a lot of other platforms a getting started section or a guide section. And so we are rewriting documentation for that, at least from the ground up. So we're the opinions and thoughts on removing and adding new docs, we're all for it. Let's do what's best. Yeah, I think that's kind of the opinion. Is we're still looking for that. We're still looking for that right and perfect solution. So let's keep iterating towards there. As for more questions in the chat, yeah. So I literally just opened up this PR yesterday. We don't know right now because we don't have the infrastructure for the site built yet. Very intentionally, like we're hoping to focus on design for a while. We don't know where this new documentation will live exactly or what format it'll come in. We presume it's going to be Markdown. Seems reasonable. And we'd love for it to live alongside the main Node.js code base because we heard a lot of concerns from core contributors that if it doesn't live right alongside the code base, people won't keep it updated. People won't contribute to it. Because if you change a feature, you now need to make a PR in another repo to go make it happen. So let's keep, just like with the API docs, let's keep it in the same core code base as Node.js, Node.js proper. But we don't know where exactly it's going to live. We don't know what the ingestion pipeline for the website will look like yet. So in the meantime, to actually start working on this long list of content ideas and taking in new content ideas as they pop up, I proposed a RFC process and pull a PR number 64. Just it's a pretty lightweight process, but it will hopefully give a nice pipeline for people to contribute and a place for their documentation to live in the meantime. So in the meantime, until we get documentation, ingestion, and site infrastructure working and know where it's going to live, let's use this repo as the current staging ground for new guides and new documentation documents, and follow this process to get them submitted. So yeah, they would PR it against this repo, and once we have the infrastructure figured out, we will do a mass migration of all this documentation to where its final living place is going to be. So this way we don't have a lot of churn going on in the main Node.js repo in the meantime.
Oh, that was awesome. Oh, thank you very much.
Yeah, cool. Awesome. Well, does anybody else have other topics they want to bring up or anything else they want to discuss?
None. Thanks for leading the meeting, Adam.
Yeah, no worries. Cool. Well, if that's it, I think we'll end the stream and call it a meeting. Cool. Thank you all for joining. Thank you everybody who called in on YouTube for listening in. See you later.
Bye, y'all.
Oh, I can't actually stop the stream because because Tyranny started it, even though he dropped. So we'll just all drop off and hope the meeting actually ends once we're in empty room.
Right. Bye, everyone.
See you guys.
Bye.
Bye.